shorter business is a moment of silence. We're going to stand for a moment of silence and then we'll
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Up next is the public comment for items to be on the agenda to be voted on that was adopted at the start of the meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome the public and go over the public comment process. Comments are limited to items on the agenda to be voted on this evening. You'll be given 5 minutes. I will inform you when your time has expired. Please state your name and address prior to speaking for the record. All comments should be directed toward me as the board chairman. As a reminder, this is a comment section, is an opportunity for us to hear your thoughts. This is not a question and answer session. If you have any additional questions, I would encourage you to reach out to the board office or one of us outside of the meeting for further discussion. Miss Audrey Jensen.
So, am I just standing right
Just
here?
stand right here. It doesn't matter. That's fine.
This is awkward. Okay. Audrey Jensen, 502 Natport. I'm talking tonight about renewing the director's contract. Previous to this, a public records request was made. And has not been provided. I requested it tonight from my board member, and it's not available. But yet we're voting on it tonight, and the public has not had an opportunity to look over it. So how can we put our comments about the contract if we have not been able to see it? I would also like to take a time to capture the totality of the director's performance. First off, let's talk about the Stewart County TSBA role of the school board. The board shall develop a policy manual and employ a director of schools who shall carry out its policies through the development and implementation of administrative procedures. The board shall regularly evaluate the effectiveness of its policies and their implementation. So let's recap policy implementation. So the director of schools is required to report to the Tennessee State Board of Education whenever there is an allegation of misconduct, including having teachers with open containers on premises, inappropriate communication with the student, non-explicit, falsifying an IEP, negligence of supervision. I've looked this up. We know of these teachers. This is not been reported to the state. Currently there are four open federal Office of Civil Rights investigations. Those are not easily opened. Most of them that are filtered through do not get opened. But we have four, including Title IX procedures, retaliation, sexual harassment, and sexual assault. In the last 2 years, we've had 11 substantiated SPED violations. Right now, we have 5 pending violations being investigated. I made the board and the director of schools aware that they were not compliant with special education. With my child, I think that was about a month prior to the compliance reports being signed, but yet it proceeded to be signed and said that we were compliant. I feel if mediation is not successful, if the investigation were to go through, that it would support that we are in violation, and knowingly violation occurred, but yet we signed a report saying that we were compliant. Okay, so let's talk academics. TCAP, the percent of TCAP since 2019 for ELA science and math have decreased. It was a stagnant, but from when we started in 2019 until present, it has not increased. Safety of the schools. I remember when we were doing our active shooter campaign, it was very difficult to get our teachers trained in active shooter training. I had to have a very difficult conversation with our director, despite the Executive Order 97 that was signed, requiring schools to take certain policies and steps to make our school safe. Stop the Bleed, that training that was awesome, that was a grant that was done about 5 or 6 years ago, and the guy just came to me and said, hey, I've been trying to get this done, it's free. I've been going to the board, I haven't got a response. I did was make noise. That's all I did. We could have got that way years before, but we're not getting free resources. But safety should be a priority, right? So we're talking about policy implementation and just operations of the school system. Our roof leaking is still at North Stewart. So the roof over the gym's done, but the rest of the building. My question is, what is the working conditions for teachers and students? This week, a roof tile fell on 3 children at North Stewart. Why? Why? If safety is really our priority, and we know this, and it's been years, and we spent all this money, what's the issue? Who's making the decisions? Where's the director directing? Why aren't we making hard and fast decisions about safety? Because that should be a baseline. My kid should be able to go to school and be safe. If you were at work and it was every day for years, you knew that it was dripping and water was going in buckets, and a ceiling tile fell on your head, ooh, you got a workers' comp situation there. But it's okay. It's kids, right? Not your kid, but it's kids. And PTO. PTO, I just found out, paid for the hallway painting at North Stewart, and so this is a safety feature where if law enforcement were to respond, they would be able to identify the hallway like blue hallway, green hallway. Why is our PTO paying for this? For safety stuff. Why aren't that money going to teachers' resources or kids' stuff? We're paying for our PTO to pay for safety stuff? And our director of schools is the highest paid county employee. They make $110K a year. Is this really the best that the school board can provide for us? I know personally there's educators in the school system that are fit for this position. Why are we cutting ourselves short and just saying the easy route of let's renew? That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. All right, the next item of business is corrections and additions into approval of agenda. We did move some things around last minute that was posted on the website. We did move the vote on the director's contract up, and that was due to an AG appeal opinion. I'll let the attorney speak to that.
It's supposed to be the first actionable item on the agenda, so we just had to move that where it needs to be the first actionable item.
So, is there any other corrections or additions to the agenda, or I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda.
Second motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb. Second by Mr. Gillum. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. All right. The next item of business is the vote on the director's contract. I'm gonna let Charles wanted to say something prior to this. He wants to address the board as far as on this goes.
I would recommend to the board to clarify some ambiguities on the prior contract. Whenever you all renewed it in 2022, it was renewed on that current contract, which would have gave 4 more years. But the expiration date never got updated, so it was the same expiration date. So I would recommend you to make a motion to clarify the record so there's no ambiguity, because the intent was there, the minutes say that you renewed, but the contract shows the same expiration date. So that's really it.
So just for clarification, the first part of this vote would be, I would seek a motion to clear up that ambiguity on the previous director's contract. 20 years from now, somebody might look at it and say, what were these guys doing? So that's the reason why we want to just make that correct on that contract. So I'll seek a motion to fix the director's contract from 2022.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Lisa Fitzhugh.
Second.
Second by Mr. Adam Lamb. Let's have a roll call on that. Oh, well, we got a motion. Does anybody want to discuss it? Is there any discussion on that?
So they just change the date on it.
We're just gonna change the date.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not changing.
Just put the right
Correct.
one right
Just
now.
put
Correcting the
correct
direct.
The dates
Yes.
got corrected, but the expiration date stayed the same, so you can't do a contract to the same date.
Right. All right, I'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Dacus.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzhugh.
Yes.
Mr. Postle.
Yes.
Ms. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Gill.
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
All right. So we've cleared that up. Now will be I'll seek a motion for, a renewal of the director's contract.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb,
Second.
second by Mr. Davis. All right, now we'll have some conversation. Y'all all received, the packet for the, director evaluation. I thought that he scored well in a lot of the areas. There are some areas for improvement. And he's one of those guys that will try to improve those things, I think, given the opportunity. So, like I said, there's always room for improvement. Nobody's perfect, and we're not perfect, and he's not perfect, and there is room for improvement, but, I don't think that there's anything, my opinion, nothing is going on that doesn't warrant him, to get a renewal of his contract. Bobby's opinion.
I do say that the evaluation that we were sent, it seemed a little more detailed, of things that we could, answer on. And as you said, nobody's perfect, there's nobody in this room, that don't make mistakes, but I was glad that we were able to do the evaluation, and I liked it being online, and I also liked the more detailed questions that it asked. I thought it was very much myself, I was very impressed with all the detail, and then with the score of that as well.
Is there any other discussion?
We're talking about overall directors stuff, the evaluation that we did, I did like it. There was a lot of stuff that's hard to answer as a board. One of my things big was communication, and that's for everybody, make sure that we're all talking. But I did look at all the testing scores from all the counties around us, that are the same-ish in personnel or student-wise, and we're doing really well. Not everything is always perfect, but we are doing well on testing. Students are getting better. Coming out of COVID, we're seeing a lot better tests. So I am excited about that. I'm excited about Stewart County High School. We've got good things going on there. I think we're doing pretty good.
Thank you. So,
Overall, most of you guys have been on the board for a long time. So, I mean, and some of us have been around. I mean, I've been around the system for 20 years, and I can say that I know that, like you said, we're not perfect. But if you look back even 10 years ago, where we're at today, I feel like that our school system has improved. I mean, from safety being the number one thing. I mean, I truly believe that, because I can remember a time when we could have walked into any of these schools at any point in time from anywhere, and nobody would have ever questioned it. And to see the things that I went to the high school today, and as a board member, I got questioned who I was to come in there. And I think that's good, because it doesn't matter who you are going into that system or into the school. So, and I think that's a lot to do with the leadership that we have. And like you said again, there's always room for improvement. And when there's a mistake made, things are cleaned up.
I would like,
go ahead.
oh, no, I was just gonna add real quickly, and don't you tell the time, Gary, I saw you looking like that, but anyway, it's okay. But I would like to add, in the past, we've had really good director of schools as well. They never went through what Mike has went through with COVID. And we don't know till we walk in those shoes exactly what has went on as far as coming out of this COVID. Because I know what it's done to churches, I know what it's done to communities, and as a lifelong resident, citizen here, none of us know. And I think it has been handled real well. So I did want to add that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. You deserve to go ahead of me.
Oh, gee.
I liked it too. It was a little long, a little hard survey. It was hard. But one thing I'll say about that, Mike, that I appreciate is, one, if you don't know what I'm asking, you say, let me call you back, I'll find out. I appreciate that out of somebody. And the second thing is, Mike, and never have I talked to Mike where there's been a mistake made where he has not owned it and said, we're gonna fix this. And that's hard to come by these days with people. And like Kyle said and others, overall, I think you've done a wonderful job and you've tried your best, and that means a lot to me. one who has 5 children in the school system, so.
On my part, what Gary said was that was true. Whenever you looked at the questions or anything like that, because I'm not with Mike every time he gets up, comes in here, I'm not here, or anything like that. So some of the questions was on a tricky thing like that. You had to do the best you could on evaluating him like that. And I'm proud the way he's done like this. And it's like what Lisa was talking about too. We went through a COVID thing like this, and we made it through the thing like this. It made it hard on every kid because, you know, they miss so much time in school and anything like that. But as overall, we done good. And he did too.
I do have one more thing. One of the things that I will say, I know there's one of the biggest complaints we get now is because of our, you know, with like North Stewart and things like that. What people don't understand is that these things take time, and that sometimes we have things in motion to fix these problems, and they don't happen overnight. And I can tell you that I know, because I mean, I have children at North Stewart, so we definitely want all of our schools to be top notch. But when you have a school that's almost 50 years old, there's going to be issues, and you know, things that we think we're fixing, they're going to come up, and we're going to take care of those, like right now with the upgrades that we're doing there. And unfortunately, when a company tells us they can't do nothing until the ground, you know, dries up, there's not much we can do. So again, I don't think that should be something that should fall out on Mike, because some of these things should have been taken care of 15 years ago.
Any other comment? All right, I'm gonna ask for a roll call.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Dacus.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzhugh.
Yes.
Mr. Rousseau.
Yes.
Ms. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Gillum.
All right. So passes. We got your contract. Item 6 is approval of minutes for the regular session, November 9th, 2023. You received that in your board packet. Is there any changes or corrections to that? If not, I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes from the regular session, November 9th.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Fitzhugh.
Second.
Who's that saying? Sorry, Mr. Pope. I threw you. So, through your voice, I thought it might be Gary.
Also.
Also.
Also, okay.
All right. Is there any comments? All those in favor for the approval of the minutes signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, no. All right, that's passed. Item number 7 is a consent agenda. I'll seek a motion for the approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Ms. Sanders.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dacus. Is there any questions you want to go over any of this?
This one was added late because it just got it from Mr. Saunders, the PTCO at Dover Elementary is wanting to sell shirts for Jaybird for a fundraiser to help with what's going on there. And I told Mr. Saunders if he'd get it to me, I'd get it on the agenda.
Any other questions? All those in favor for the consent agenda, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, no. All right, the yeses have it. Item number 8 is the approval of updated board policies. Do we need to do these one at a time? Oh, that was in the consent agenda.
Okay,
I thought.
my fault.
Yeah. I think we're good there. One at a time? Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So let's start with the approval of the updated board policy 4.603 promotion and retention. I'll seek a motion for the approval of that.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb,
Second.
second by Ms. Sanders. All right, let's have some conversation about that.
What did we have to change about this one? That was to follow state.
This is to, sorry if I speak.
Yes, absolutely.
This was to, this updated the policy to include specific information on 3rd and 4th grade retention. This is to get us in line with state law. And these policies came about because of the audit that TSBA did we asked them to do on our board policies, which we do every year. And these are some that they said to be in line with the state board policy and state law. These were their recommendations, and all of them were written, I'll just be honest with you, these policies were written by their model policies from TSBA. So this is their standard board policy, and it just covers to, on this one specifically, 4.603 was to get us in line with the third grade retention law, which we all have heard about.
Yeah, it's new state law. We have
Right.
to do it.
Really,
Yeah.
all these we had no choice.
Is there any other, questions about that, 4.603? Roll call. I don't think so either, but just making sure. All those, in favor of approval of 4.603 signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, the yeses have it on that. Now we'll go to, I'll seek a motion for the approval of the updated board policy 4.209, the alternative credit option. Motion by Mr. Passo,
Thank you.
We're gonna get it one day.
I second
oh,
it.
second by
You
Mr.
were
Dacus.
laughing.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Second by Mr. Dacus. All right, we'll talk about that one too.
Again, this was to get us in line with TCA 49, oh, excuse me. Which one?
4.209.
Okay, this is to, so we will have a policy, and so a student can appeal, appeal a denial of a course access enrollment. It's to get us in line with state board policy and the law, state law. Really, I don't know of any classes that we have denied anybody from taking if they requested it. Now, they may get in it and say, it's not for me, I need out, but, would y'all agree with that, Dr. Duncan? And that's why we had to put it in there.
Is there any other questions on the alternative credit options?
So do we have, even though we're approving this now, I mean, we don't have a course list because we don't have any classes. So that would just be something that we would have to be brought to us.
If we decided to do those online classes
Right.
and things like that, which we do have, online dual enrollment.
Dual
classes
enrollment,
through
but that's for
university.
college though, right?
Yeah, but they also get high school credit.
Right, okay.
And these online courses could also be used to supplement we already do this with homebound instruction through Ed Minimum. We have, that we use in our alternative schools. This is just so a parent, if they wanted to, if we did deny somebody being in one of these classes, a way to appeal it.
All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor for the approval of the board policy 4.209 signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The yeses have it. All right, the next one is, the approval for updated board policy 4.301 at interscholastic athletics. I'll seek a motion for the approval of that board policy, of that updated board policy. Motion by Mr. Passo, second by Ms. Fitzhugh. All right, let's talk about that one.
Y'all want me to explain this one? This is, again, TCA 496310 is we are to have a policy by state law that ensures that student athletes only participate in athletic activities or events that align with the student's sex indicated on his or her original birth certificate. Additionally, a separate change to state law requires boards to have a policy on severe weather and training coaches, which we already do. But it's in policy now. We already do training on severe weather with our coaches, and not only that, but how to deal with, heat, things like that, in practice. So all our coaches go through that training before they coach.
Is there any comments, questions? All right. I will, are all those in favor for approval of, 4.301 interscholastic athletics, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, those opposed, no. All right, that'll pass. I will seek a motion for the approval of the updated board policy 4.605, which is graduation requirements.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Ms. Sanders. Discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, this one, state law has changed regarding the number of credits required to graduate under the Move When Ready Act. There is a law that says if a student wants to get through quicker through high school, they can. There's a program you have to go through. But it requires now only 17 credits. The board policy that's current is 18 to do this. And this would just be getting us in line with state law.
How many students do we have that are trying to go through this program, or got a round number?
I've only ever seen one
We've
in
only
my
had one.
career,
Okay.
and they ended up choosing not to. They chose to in 9th grade, and then once they got to their senior year, they just wanted to stay.
Okay.
But there is that option out there, and students are given that, when they go in for freshman orientation, that's outlined for them if that's what they choose to do.
Now, these all courses will be taken in the school itself, or these can be taken?
Taken in school.
Okay.
Did you
Lot-
say 17 or 18?
Huh?
Did you say 17?
It's 18 now. The state law said it had to be dropped it down to 17. A lot of times the kids are doing this in other schools that it's something that happens a lot. A lot of them are accelerated. They're trying to get out early so they can go into college, and they're probably taking college classes too, because it's not easy to do this. Because you still have to get all the requirements in that 3-year period that you would get in 4.
Is there any more questions? All those in favor for approval of the updated board policy 4.605 graduation requirements, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, the yeses have that one. I'll seek a motion for the approval of the updated board policy 4.205, enrollment in advanced courses. Motion by Ms. Sanders,
Second.
second by Mr. Lamb. We'll have discussion on this one.
There was a new law passed this year, TCA 49.6.10.12. It requires boards to adopt a policy to determine how students can enroll in advanced courses, and requires this policy to list objective enrollment criteria, including TCAP scores and grades. Again, we're getting our policy in line with state law. This is an area that I kind of already alluded to this with the other one. I don't know if I was principal, Mr. Wynn's been principal, and Dr. Duncan at the high school. We allow kids to enroll in class they want. If they want to jump in and grab a hold of AP calculus, they're allowed. But they also have to understand that we're not going to lower the standards of AP calculus so we can get more kids you have to meet that criteria. This gives you a way that parents can know how their kid can get in there, and then they can have a way to appeal if the teacher says they're not ready for this class.
All right. Is there any questions on that?
We kind of talked about putting, just, all y'all saw the notes I sent. It was kind of about just putting in the equal clause, which my opinion is that it's fine. I kind of talked about not necessarily putting in the time, because of the way kids can, all year they can go into an advanced class, so it would really hurt the principals to try and do something like that, and teachers. So that's just my 2 cents on the at least the equal part for all kids, which it's implied, just not written, right? So that's what that was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called. Sorry, I was gonna say I called, Ben, and he may be saying the same thing. We've already got that in the policy, that all students have to be treated equally,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
You know, do we wanna add another line, or do we just, you know, it's already in policy, period, that we can't, our principals can't single out a certain student for whatever reason, so.
I think what Kyle was referring to is line 31 in the policy.
Right.
With reference, the principal of each school has the authority to require additional criteria that the statute allows. So they can add more things, and the statute actually allows the additional criteria. But he's referencing maybe having that, if you do require additional criteria, it has to be equally offered to all kids. So I think that's what he's meaning. And Gary is saying that it's already required in the contract, or in the board policy, that everybody's gonna be treated equally. And then the other part of that, I think you were speaking to, was the line 2 on the second page, where the parents are required by statute to be getting written notification if they're eligible to enroll. We had talked about this, I talked to some of the administration, you know, setting a date in that, I think would be bad, because you're setting them up for failure because of the enrollment periods, but we talked to several of them, and a lot of them was like, well, we could just add this criteria into our student handbook, and I think that's probably the easiest way to handle that, so. If you wanna change it, you would need to make a motion to amend that, but if you're fine with the way it is, then you can just go with it, so.
Yeah, Ben up there at the state said the only thing that that the principal could do, he said a lot of these places use principal because they have more than one school. You know, he said for us, you know, the local board did that, but he says typically falls on like prerequisites for the course. Like, oh, you can't take AP calculus until you take AP pre-calculus or whatever.
And somebody, what if somebody like fails AP pre-calculus, they're not gonna go into AP calculus?
Right.
They still can then?
No.
Oh, they can, okay, alright.
They would be.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's where the additional criteria that definitely the wording needs to be in there, because if you say equal opportunity, then it's gonna be, even if they failed that class, because of the policy, they'd be able to enroll.
So for me, I brought it up because I was given the notification about it, you know, hey, this is a possible amendment. It is redundant, but it's not redundant, so in my mind.
I feel like it opens a door that we don't need to have a door open.
So.
Because if you have that wording in there, then it could set it up to where somebody that failed another class could then still enroll.
Well, let me say this if I can, because I think it may be tailing into actual details. The criteria is laid out in the statute. It's very broad. It's like TCAP scores, a student plan book, or something to that effect. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's as detailed like you gotta pass this to
Right.
this. And I don't even know that the principals of either middle or high school, because this handles 7 through 12. I don't know that they could get down that technical without statute. So the additional criteria is laid out in the statute.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
just some schools don't require that, some of them just do the first 3,
Right.
which is basically TCAP, so. And it's not my decision, but I'm just.
So I'd have to make a motion to amend it.
And state your amendment to what line, so they can.
Right. Okay. Can I make a motion to amend line 31 and add equal for all? Hold on, let me pull it up. We talked about it earlier, but I gotta read it.
Authority to, I think you require additional criteria equally for all students.
Equally for all students, yep. And I will not, follow the timeline system.
I mean, it's in the board policy that they have to give written notices. I think that's probably individual or the director to direct them to put that in the student, which is probably the easiest way, because high school, I'm assuming some will enroll at the end of the year, like freshmen, and some probably, or freshmen probably enroll at the first, and then the upperclassmen enroll at the end of the year, I would assume. And that may be Dr. Duncan can clarify the enrollment period, if that's gonna cause an issue.
All right, so I have a motion to amend line 31 to add equally for all students. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Davis. Now we have to vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote for the amendment. Okay. Okay, so, is there any discussion about the amendment?
Can you read that one more time, so I can make sure that it's clear, please?
So the amendment would be to add on line 31, authority to require additional criteria equally for all students for for the enrollment in advanced courses to fit the needs of the students within the school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it goes in after criteria.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any questions about that? Any more? All right, all those for the approval of the amendment to line 31 signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. All right, the yeses have that. Now, is there any further discussion on the amendment 4.205? All right. All those in favor for approval of the updated board policy 4.205 enrollment as amended, signify by saying yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right, the yeses have it. All right.
I just wanna make sure that we put it in there the way that it's.
Okay. Item number 9 is the approval of the 141 amendment. I'll seek approval for the 141 amendments. Motion by Mr. Passau.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lamb. All right. Let's go.
All right, Mr. Flynn speaks to
Absolutely.
Finance Director, Mr. Chris Gwynn's gonna speak to our budget amendments.
Okay, the first one is, connected to the ESI loan that you approved at the last meeting. This is just moving what we have to do is we're moving fund balance money into the budget to appropriate to spend for the project. So we're moving $1.1 million in from, the fund balance into the 141 budget. What happens is as soon as they send us a monthly statement and, we pay it off monthly as the construction goes on. And what we'll do is we'll come back later and as we get those reimbursements from ESI, we will move that money back into fund balance. So at the end of the year, fund balance will be unaffected by this. But it's just a mechanism that the loan is a repayment after we pay for the services and the work. The loan reimburses us. Does that make sense?
We just have to cover that up front.
Right. We pay for it and then we seek reimbursement. So we're moving money from fund balance to cover the initial payments, and then ESI will pay us back. The second one is, this is a TISA outcome payment. This is based on our performance last year. We get more money above and beyond the normal TISA. We're moving this into several lines. The first one is the teacher line. We're looking to hire a speech language pathologist. The second one is instructional equipment. This is replacing some Chromebooks. The last two are doing some upgrades to buildings, doing some fire alarm work, and replacing some doors at the annex. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Sure. That work on the annex, just so everybody knows why we're putting money there. Our plan is to put our alternative school in the annex next year. We're gonna get it out of the high school.
Good.
That way, when we have if we did have a violent offender, right now we have to pretty much
Population.
we have to put them out and provide homebound services or something like that to provide their education. But taking it out of the high school and putting it back at the annex, because all the county offices have moved out of there. It's all ours now. So we're going to, that's where that money, we gotta get that fire code ready and all that, so by next year, so we can put students back in there.
Where it was before, where they were before, they were there.
They were up in the, where the juvenile court is before.
Okay.
We're gonna be down,
Still gonna be down.
down by the teacher center.
Okay.
There's big, huge classrooms in there, and so we're gonna do some work to get that ready for kids. And, we got other things planned in the future to make that a building we can use more.
Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Fitzhugh?
Yes.
Mr. Passau?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
All right, item number 9 passes. Number 10 is approval of the 142 amendments. I'll seek a motion for the approval of the 142 amendments.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb,
Second.
second by Mr. Gillum. Discussion. Absolutely.
Dr. Duncan? Yeah, the first one I have is for the Lynn grant that we received. It's a 5-year grant. We received an additional $30,000 this year back in November that has to be used for instructional supplies to go towards literacy materials. And then the second I have is a ESSER 3 amendment. I just took some money out of regular instruction equipment, moved it in for math textbooks that will be purchased in March for K-5, and then to cover retirement for one of our employees. I think Miss Robin has one.
I have two, my IDEA and then my IDEA pre-K. The last budget that I gave you at the other meeting, I had included my entire budget, but Miss Gina only needed my carryover. So that's what you got, is just the carryover, just so she can put it in the books like it needs to be. That's not any new money or anything like that.
All right. Is there any questions on those 142 amendments? All right, sorry. Okay, I'll ask the roll call, please.
Mr. Dacus,
Yes.
Ms. Fitzhugh,
Yes.
Mr. Passo,
Yes.
Ms. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes. All right, that's item 10. Item 11 is the approval of the 143 amendments. I'll seek a motion for the approval of the 143 amendments.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb,
Second.
second by Ms. Sanders.
Ms. Wallace, nutrition will speak to these.
Every year I have to put together a plan if we have excess money in our budget, which we did this year. And so a lot of this is gonna cover, the excess. We're moving it over from the, restricted for operation. We're moving it over to cover a lot of equipment that we're gonna be getting. We've got a new truck coming in to help move food whenever that goes down. We're looking at refrigeration trucks. We're in the process of getting a new freezer, so a lot of that's covering that part of it. And that's under the 710, which is your food service equipment. And I've also put in the plan to do bonuses, raises. So I wanted to give my staff a bonus at the end of the year for a longevity pay. So that's gonna cover that part of it too. The USDA other was extra money that we got for some extra work that we had to do in our department for the pandemic cards, which was a lot of extra work. So they reimbursed us or gave us that money. So that's where that 3,000 is coming from.
All right, is there any questions about the 143 budget amendment? All right, I'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Dacus,
Yes.
Ms. Fitzhugh,
Yes.
Mr. Passo,
Yes.
Ms. Sanders,
Yes.
Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
All right, that passes. The next item is the approval of tenure eligible teachers. I'll seek a motion for the approval of the tenure eligible teachers.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Gillum. Discussion.
It's been years since we've granted tenure to teachers. COVID, I hate to keep bringing up COVID, but we got into that. I think we got off track. And then we sat down this year and went through, there's a state law that tells you what you have to do to be granted tenure or be recommended for tenure. Now, I was asked a question at one time, so if a teacher gets tenure, you can't, if something happens, you can't do anything with them. That's not true. In fact, the way the tenure law is now, you meet the criteria, you meet the level of effectiveness that you have that's required by the state to be recommended for that. But if you don't keep that level of effectiveness after so many years, it can be taken away. So it's not like it was when I started teaching. When you got tenure, it's for life. And, but anytime you get something, immoral, illegal, things like that, you can go through the process of removing a tenured teacher. And all of these people on here met that criteria, and through the recommendations of their principals, that's why I brought this list to them. In our world in education right now, it is very, very difficult to get teachers. And I think this is an important step to show our teachers that we have faith in them and that they deserve to have that protection. Which, if you come in and do a good job, you're gonna keep your job. But this just gives them an extra layer of support. So I recommended all these people, and if you have any that you want to talk about individually, that's part of the process. If that's what you wish, or you can vote on it as a group.
Mike, is there still a certain amount of years before they're eligible for tenure now?
Still 4.
Still 4 years.
But then you have to meet those other
Right.
criteria.
They have to get
It used to
graded.
be 2 years ago. It was 2, and then they moved it to 4, so I just didn't know if it had been changed.
Now, some of these teachers, I got to ask this question. Some of these teachers haven't been in Stewart County 4 years, but they had tenure at other places than their former places, and they requested that we get them. And I have no problem with them that moved in from, I think they're all from Montgomery County. We were lucky to get them. We've been stealing Montgomery County teachers quite a bit here lately, so.
Yeah, they have to get, well, I understand it, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, they have to have a 4 or better to get recommended
Right.
2 years in a row.
Right.
Which is above expectations.
Yeah, 3's expectation, 4 is,
And then-
5's the best, 4's.
So Mike, you can carry your teacher with you from school to school to
You
school,
can
or
ask it,
district to district.
you can ask it, like when I came from Humphreys County 20 years ago, I had tenure in Humphreys County. I taught for a year and asked if I could, and I got tenure after 1 year. Yes.
But these were all, the ones that you're talking about were tenure in Montgomery County?
Yes. There's
They
not
were
anybody on
already
here that
tenured.
was either not tenured in their former place of employment, or I don't recommend, and they met the criteria to receive tenure. And the plan is, once we grant them this, then the next board meeting, I'm gonna invite them all, and we'll have a celebration for them. That's why I didn't have them come tonight. I didn't want them to be awkward.
Yeah, and Mike, it's my understanding too, that when we get to this point, after you recommend it, if we don't vote on it, they're to be terminated, correct?
Could possibly.
Right, that's the way law reads.
Yeah, but it's
tenure or.
Right, and that's the other part, that it's in the law, it's not being across the state with the teacher shortage. I don't know if it's how hard it's being done, but yes, we would have to make some tough decisions going forward. Now, we could terminate them, they could reapply for the position, which would be, I think, kind of silly.
All the people that I know here are great teachers. They all, to get a 4 for 2 years in a row or better, like,
It's
good
hard
job.
to do.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do.
So, good job.
Any other discussion? Roll call. Let's do a roll call on that one.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mr. Morgan,
Yes.
Mr. Dacus.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzhugh.
Yes.
Mr. Paso,
Yes.
Ms. Sanders.
Yes.
Mr. Gillum.
All right, passes, great. Congratulations to those teachers. The next, thing is the, director's report, item 13.
All right, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having faith in me to continue director of schools, and I plan on doing the best I can. I've looked at the evaluation that was done, and the areas that were lower. I'm the type of person, I want to get better, and I'm gonna do my best to improve in those areas, and I'm gonna do my best to do a good job for Stewart County schools. Stewart County schools are very special to me. It's been a lifetime of, I've been involved in here, you know, I spent some time somewhere else, but either as a student or as 20 years as a teacher and now as director, I appreciate the opportunity to continue to do that, and I hope to do it for a long time. The other thing I want to talk about, put on in everybody's front of your desk, talk about the letter grades that I'm sure that you've all seen that the state has handed out for each school in the state, and just a little talk about this. In elementary, the letter grades based on 50% achievement, 40% growth, and 10% of growth of the highest need students, and that would be the bottom 25% on the previous year's TCAP. So what you do with those students is a 10% of it. Middle school, same as elementary, and high school, it's 50 for achievement, 30 for growth, 10 for the lowest 25%, and then another 10% for college and career ready. Now, as you can see on the graph, and I have to thank Dr. Duncan for helping for creating this. We had 3 schools, Stewart County High School, Stewart County Middle School, and North Stewart, that received a letter grade C. A C is, right now we're average in those schools. We're right in the middle with the state. We're about at state average, and in most cases a little above state average. So it's not time to hit the panic button. This data that this is all based on is from last year's TCAP. We've had this data since June, correct? And we started before the school year started. We kind of had an idea, you know, we didn't know exactly how it was going to be calculated, but from that data, we already knew where our spots we needed to go to work at, and we've already started that. Last week we started having meetings with each school administration, and looking at our benchmark data that students are taking throughout the year, and we're really targeting how we're doing and what we're going to do to improve. Everybody's coming up as even a mid-year plan, so it's a constant. Our teachers are working their tails off. They're digging into this benchmark data, and I think that you'll see improvement in all of our schools next year. I do have to give a shout out to Dover Elementary. They scored a B, and which is above average, and you know, and the other schools are, you know, North Stewart's not far from there. The high school, we've already identified the way that we are going to do a better job of getting college career ready, working on getting the ACT up, those types of things that I think you'll see growth there too. You know, it's now the thing we all have to remember, it's a moving target, because we're sitting here talking about this, and we're talking about how we're going to improve, and we're going to, that everybody else is too. So as everybody goes up, the expectation is going to go up. To be honest with you, as a educator, I put stock in this, but I don't put all my eggs in this basket, because that's one test that all this is based on, okay? Or multiple tests for different subjects. So you gotta look at it like that, and let's look at the whole picture of what we're doing in our schools. And so I just wanted to present that to you so you would know if you ever get questions. I've got some more copies. If anybody in the public wants to look at it, you're welcome to have a copy of this. But I believe our schools are going in the right direction, and we're going to continue to work hard. And you know, it may not happen overnight, but I think you will see a lot of improvement. If you get bored and you really want to dig into it, there's on this website that's on here, you can go and look at how we did against schools like us and systems like us, and we stack up just as good. One thing you are going to see, areas where there are high poverty, socioeconomic issues, their letter grades are lower than places like Franklin, Williamson County, people like that. Even within systems, you can see it. I'll give you an example. Rossview and Clarksville, A. Clarksville High, A. You go to other part of Clarksville, there's schools where their population is not as affluent as those, they're D's. So that plays a big role in it. And that's where we gotta attack those other issues besides just academics. So kids can be ready to, when they come in to take a test in the spring, they can focus on that and not all the other stuff that's going on. So that's all I have on the director's reports.
Bobby, if I may say something.
Yeah.
When I saw this, you know, and got a few calls about the grades, I was able to tell the people real quick from working with kids and families about my whole life. The definition of success is different for each person. And what Mike said, some of these kids coming to school, the last thing on their mind is, how am I going to do on tests today? But our schools, I feel so strongly, prepare our kids for tomorrow in different ways that includes A, feeding those who don't have enough food. Our schools send food home with kids that don't have food at home. Our schools prepare them to make sure they have that. They provide clothing. You know, there's some of these schools have a coat drive where they give kids that coats, and they have need for coats. Go to the Good Samaritans. They can't keep enough coats for children. They send those things home with them. They wash their clothes, those that don't have access to a washer and dryer. Some at the high school take showers. Man, our schools do so much more than the test side that prepare our kids better for the future. It includes getting them medical help. They take them to doctors. They line those up. Mental health. They do all these things, and I'm so proud of our school system that I hate the state sent this out so that people are just going to look at this grade and not realize what our school really does. Stewart County does a great job, from Brian, Sharon, Tara, Kristen, Donna, Jessica, Will, and Megan, and the staff that they have. Our schools get an A when I talk to other board members about what they do to make sure these kids are successful in life. It's not always about the test scores, and that's all I want to say. I don't want to say much, but that's my 2 cents on this test.
Thank you, Gary. That's well said. I echo your comments 100%. The next thing is announcements. That's just for board members to talk. Anybody got anything besides Gary?
I'm done.
Gary, you hit on it though, because that's the problem that, like you said, you know, you got a State Department that's not in these schools every day. And, you know, I know straight A students that do very well in school, but when it comes to taking tests, you're basically summing it all up. And it's not fair. It's not. And, you know, we're not only are we supposed to prepare them for tomorrow, but we got to take care of them today.
Yeah.
And that's, like you said, people don't look at, especially these people that are wanting to talk about it, and I'm just going to flat out say it. We have a lot of people that like to get on social media and like to talk about how bad our school system is. If they would go around any surrounding counties and see how bad they actually have it compared to us, they would see in a heartbeat that our school is great.
Yeah.
And you know, it's absolutely ridiculous how many kids we have that are being raised by their grandparents, aunts, uncles. You know, they don't take that into consideration. And that's where, you know, again, it's a letter grade, but you know what? As long as our kids are doing the best they can, and that's all that we can ask from them. You know, and it is like you said, Gary. It's more to it than just a letter grade.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb.
The SBA also would encourage the board, if you want to send stuff to the state board, to pass a resolution, I can draft it for those kind of concerns.
Can I say something else?
Absolutely.
I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. This letter grade system is a part of a whole plan. If you look at what's going on in our legislature right now. I mean, the next thing you're gonna hear and the first thing they're gonna take up in the legislature is school vouchers. And the way they're gonna sell them is, look at this school, it's an F. Your kids, you should be able to take that public money and take it and go to a private school. To me, that is not what public education was created for. You know, of course I'm biased. All I've ever known is public education. I was raised by two teachers. I grew up in a school. So of course I'm gonna be pro-public schools. But understand that this is part of a bigger thing that's going on, and I encourage you to do some reading up on the voucher system. And I don't want to, and there's resolutions we could come up with if the board decides later that they would like to come out against them or for them. You need to do some reading on it. And I'm not gonna tell you how to think, but once you read up on what the vouchers will do, you know, public education's a great equalizer. Kids that came from nothing through public education have gone on to do great things. And I hate to see us erode our public education system. And I'm afraid that's what's happening. And you know, I'm very vocal about it. And the Tennessee Association of School Superintendents are too. And we've been fighting this and we're gonna continue to fight against it. May not do any good. Sounds like they've got the way they want it in the legislature and they're gonna push it through, but we'll see how it works out. Soapbox.
Soapbox, baby.
Anybody else have anything?
Besides Mike, didn't
All right, we'll take a motion for adjournment. Have a motion for adjournment? Second. All those in favor for adjournment, say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We're adjourned.